Today we will talk about Ilseparatio, the god of purgatory and the internet, who was erased by the church a long time ago. I ended up making a video about Abraxas, and I ended up combining it with this Ilseparatio. However, thanks to the folks on Discord, I ended up discovering some rather curious things about Ilseparatio. So I decided to make this video here with a certain correction, all right? But before talking about this correction, I'm going to talk again about the legend of Ilseparatio. Probably many people haven't seen the first video. I'm going to ask you to stay until the end of the video because it's really important. Seriously, stay until the end. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it too because it helps me a lot. And let's talk about the legend of the so-called God of Purgatory. The Slogubrum Code, a 1535 manuscript, remains one of the anonymous medieval books banned by the Vatican, and it was only anonymity that could protect the author from the long arm of the Inquisition. In its pages, a character emerges as such a strong symbol that, once questioned, could bring down the entire structure of our spiritual existence. Ilseparatio, the separator, is said in legend to have appeared at the dawn of time with the division of light and darkness. A boundary was formed, symbolizing the entity whose real name can't be spoken, Ilseparatio, or anonymous. The Slogubrum Code tells of Amantes, a noble-born knight who is secretly an assassin. The action takes place in the 12th century, where he is paid by kings and aristocrats to get rid of their enemies. He was known as a reliable professional who never failed. He could eliminate anyone at any time, regardless of the victim's influence. And he didn't choose his victims, he only chose the amount of money to charge for the job. Among his victims were kings, princes, duchesses, even illustrious clergymen, and he charged money from Venetians and Genoese. Anyone who could pay, this mercenary knows. Around the age of 50, he realizes that one of the kings he had assassinated was a good and decent man. He only defended his people and didn't deserve to die. From then, the mercenary's mindset changes entirely. He takes revenge, one by one, on everyone who ordered the crimes. He discovers that someone was the main target of all those bloodthirsty desires, an old monk lying somewhere in an underground dungeon. His theories had stirred a dangerous atmosphere among the era's most influential people. Amantes has little time to save the monk, who was set for execution by the wheel the next morning. That night, Amantes escapes and rescues the sick old man from the dungeon. Besides carrying him on his back, he had to fight against some soldiers of the Amantes Guard. He is seriously injured. His wounds aren't fatal, but he could die from blood loss before reaching the next village, since none are nearby. The two pause in a forest. The old man says, "God bless you," but Amantes replies he doesn't believe in heaven or hell and acted by his own choice. He tells the monk goodbye, asking to die alone in peace. Then he sticks his sword into the ground, waiting for all the blood to drain from his body. Meanwhile, the monk disappears. A hole opens in the ground, and a powerful demon emerges to claim Kara. Amantes, the demon, claims he was sent to escort him to hell with honors as a reward for his many murders. Amantes, hand on his sword and full of courage, replies, "Don't think you'll have an easy time with me. I swear I'll build a palace from your demon's bones." Just then an angel of light appears and tells the angel of darkness, "He is not yours." This soul's recent good deeds outweigh past wrongs, leading God to forgive all his sins. He will join us in heaven, but the angel of darkness resists. Both angels draw their swords, astonishing the others. Exactly at that moment, someone makes his appearance. Someone whom the angels knew, but had never seen before. The Gumbro Code says only God and Lucifer had seen him before, and only once. This is Ilseparatio, wearing a hooded cloak under which neither his face nor his hands nor his feet could be seen, and his waist was tied with a rope. Ilseparatio made a gesture, and the two angels trembled with fear, and he said to them, "You two are wrong. This man has done as much good as bad, so things are balanced. Neither of you will have him." The absolute power of Ilseparatio makes the angels disappear instantly. Thus speaking, his last words are for the night. "Rise, for you are no longer wounded. Now you will live as long as you wish. If you do bad deeds, it doesn't matter. The balance will adjust, as others will be born to do good deeds. If you decide to do good deeds still, it won't matter, because other people will be born to do bad deeds. You no longer exist for this universe. Live on Earth as long as you want until this species becomes extinct. You can move wherever you want with the power of your mind, even to places that don't exist on this Earth. After you get tired of everything, even if it's billions of years from now, call me and I'll explain what our meaning is. Ilseparatio vanished instantly, and legend says the night still lives among us. Now, trying to understand what is good, what is bad, and why, this is the great question of history. Why? Well, as you can see, the legend of Ilseparatio is a very interesting legend, really cool. A being that would serve as a third power between God and the devil. That's why they say he represents purgatory as its ruler and so on. He would be the one to whom people who did both good and bad in life answer. But there's a catch. Most likely this story is fake, and I fell for it. I'll tell you how I ended up coming across this legend of Ilseparatio. One day, I was live streaming on Twitch, playing and chatting with everyone. A channel subscriber asked, "Emmy, have you heard the strange Ilseparatio legend?" I replied, "No, what's it about?" The guy said, "It's like the ruler of purgatory, the third power there." I said, "Wow, cool," and searched for Ilseparatio live. And with that, I ended up on a site that I had already used several other times to read some articles and all that, which is a foreign site that I'm not going to mention the name of here because, I prefer to avoid problems. So that site shared the whole story of Ilseparatio and more. I ended up talking in my previous video and my old video about this legend. All right, and since I thought the legend was really cool, I made a serious mistake by not researching beyond that site or seeking more sources. So I took this Junteca legend from Abraxas and decided to make that old video. Then I just left it there and went on with my life. Recently, the Discord team asked me, "Emmy, where did you find the legend of Ilseparatio?" I told them a subscriber sent it, and I researched it on a certain website. They said, "Emmy, I can't find that site." I replied, "That's strange, right?" I went to my old video where I had left the source, but I already removed it, of course, right? I took the source, put it in the browser, and this showed up on the screen. I thought, I messed up, huh? But I still wanted to believe the legend was real because it seemed cool. I went to do more research, look for other sources, and I didn't find any other site that talked about Ilseparatio. All I found online about Ilseparatio was the same legend I already knew. Nothing more. I searched for the Zulgumbrum code, supposedly containing the Night Lover story, but found nothing. Everything pointed back to the Ilseparatio legend. I said, man, did I really fall for fake news? So I went and did two things that I usually do nowadays, right? To find out if the legend is real or not, which is first of all to ask ChatGPT if the legend is real. So while I was searching on ChatGPT said that this legend of Ilseparatio didn't exist, nor did this so-called Zulgumbrum code. This legend existed only online. And I went there and searched on Wikipedia because usually if something exists, there's an article on Wikipedia and there wasn't even one there. So I really messed up. I fell for the Ilseparatio fake news, so I'm making this video as a correction like I've done before. Like the legend of the 7 legendary Brazilians. And about Typhon too, right? Usually people don't know the main story of Typhon, right? That he doesn't even end up touching the United States. I apologize for spreading this fake news and suggesting the legend about the hour of Ilseparatio was real. But I also needed to find out where this story about Ilseparatio came from, where it originated, who created this Ilseparatio. And that's where the Discord folks come in. Again, Saturno, and if I'm not mistaken, Arthur and many other Brazilians also ended up finding out where this story came from. It's from Demonic Paradise, which unites entities from comics, mythology, and more in a shared universe. But there's a catch. I still think that's not the real source of Ilseparatio. This fanfic brings together many existing characters from mythology and pop culture, like Azathoth, Zeus, John Constantine, and Alucard. And this fanfic has some really weird stories that I'm going to tell you about now. For example, this section brings together Samyaza, Azathoth, and John Constantine. After the apocalypse was prevented, along with the defeat and imprisonment of most of the Ogrohen, the weakened firmament allowed Samyaza and the Grigori to escape their earthly prison after thousands of years, thanks in part to witchcraft. Azathoth's awakening was foretold as darkness grew. His slightest movement is sensed by beings and supernatural entities, triggering supernatural events worldwide and alerting the heavens. John Constantine himself first noticed this during his investigations, especially after his encounter with an angel known as Ezekiel. This series of events was labeled as Gothic America. And there's this other part of the story that brings together Zeus Indra from Hinduism and Cthulhu. When Zeus established himself as the chief of his own pantheon, he soon faced great challenges in his domain on the horizon. The first of which was the arrival of Ogro-Hin, who sought to claim the earth as his own after they hid from the Sky Island. Odin, chief of the Aesir, approached Zeus, foreseeing with his all-seeing eye the need for help from other pantheons to protect his own. They then gathered figures like Ha from Egyptian mythology and Indra from Hindu mythology. Together they formed the Council of Deities, an informal group of gods from various pantheons, united to repel Ogro-Hin's darkness. Zeus joined the battle and helped banish the last group of elders, led by High Priest Cthulhu, who was defeated. When the stars were misaligned, forcing them to fall into a deathly sleep over the submerged fortress of Wylye. Regarding the Ioseparatio, the site states, in Genesis, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light was good and separated it from the darkness. This event was, in fact, the struggle between God and chaos, the eternal void that existed before life and everything else. But few know what else was shaped from the separation of light and darkness. Legend says this division of light and darkness became an entity called Ioseparatio, meaning separation. This entity was seen as neither good nor evil, but as neoclasia, absolute naturalness, serving as a third figure between God and the devil in the legend. Medieval church. They didn't want people to start wondering which of them was stronger, God or Ioseparatio. However, Ioseparatio himself admitted that God was his superior. This entity could claim those who had done equal good and evil. If someone did as many good deeds as bad, they were said to belong to Ioseparatio. Monsters also fell into this same category, and some even claim that Ioseparatio is the reaper of monsters. Ioseparatio has no concerns with matters of heaven, earth, or hell. He remains faithful only to the task assigned to him, strictly following the rules of the natural order. In fact, the information I just mentioned here was also, in a way, on the website I had used before. That universe likely popularized Ioseparatio. Don't forget to share so more people can learn the real story of Ioseparatio. Remember to like, subscribe, and see you next time.